Ready? Music holds a power over all of us. From that sad song that always seems to understand you, to that love song that floods your mind with memories of years past. One form of music, the blues, expresses heartache, frustration, and degradation in ways other forms just cannot. In this briefing, I will speak about the history of the blues, its musical form, and its impact on music today. The blues began as slave songs during slave times and slowly evolved into a blues form. Now, many critics argue on when it truly started. Francis Davis pinpoints it at around 1890. A man named Hart Wand and another man named W.C. Handy produced the first blues sheet music at around 1903 and claimed that they discovered the genre. Blues started in the Mississippi Delta with artists like Robert Johnson and Son House, who took forms of the blues developed in the country and in cities and made their own style out of it. Another form that Ed Kopp would argue at the same time developed is Piedmont blues, which is more on the East Coast. They had a different rhythmic style and a different finger style, and there are artists like Blind Willie McTell, who was actually blind. Now, the Blues Foundation states that, unlike jazz, the blues took a while to migrate up from the South. It took till the 20s or the 30s for it to reach cities like Chicago, and it took till the 50s, when the electric guitar was invented, for artists like Muddy Waters and John Lee Hooker to invent their own variation on the form. Other places that blues can be seen: Memphis, Detroit, St. Louis, and Texas. They all had their own variation, but it was all on the same musical form, the 12-bar. So the 12-bar consists of 12 bars or measures of 4 beats apiece, and it's basically a chord progression that's always been used, and I'm going to play you an example. So this is the basic 12-bar. Of it. It doesn't have to follow that at all. Other techniques that bluesmen used, something called a shuffle and something called a turnaround, that almost every blues song had. Shuffle makes the song more cohesive, and the turnaround brings it back to the beginning. So I'll play 2 different kinds, and you can tell the difference. Okay, that's all I have time for, I guess. So, that's blues, and that's blues form. But you might be asking yourself, why should I care? It's not around today, right? Well, you'd be wrong. So, blues had a huge impact on the formation of rock and roll, and had influence on artists like Elvis Presley, who much of his work was based on the 12-bar that I just showed you. As time went on, you have other artists that you probably know, like Jimi Hendrix, who developed his own form of blues. And although much of you think of him as a psychedelic rocker or something like that, all of his music is based on the 12-bar and the blues scale. He brought blues music to a whole new generation, a whole different audience. Other men like him, Eric Clapton, which many of you might have heard of. He brought blues to a white audience, which is very interesting. Just like Elvis sort of did with rock and roll, but Clapton was playing pure blues. He was playing iterations of songs by Robert Johnson, who I mentioned before, like Crossroad Blues. Other bands like Led Zeppelin, the Beatles, and Bob Dylan all use blues forms in their songs. Most of Led Zeppelin's music is either blues-based or another genre called rockabilly, which is another subgenre. So, I've spoken about the history of the blues, I've played you its musical form, and I've discussed its impact on music today. Blues has evolved from something simple and emotional and influenced much of our music. Music can alter your mood and change your perceptions, but in the ocean of your mind, blues is your paddle, boat, and sail.